You are listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Empire. It's the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
Riley's in the shotgun, looking downfield, and then throws. It is up in the air to the goal line. Bounces. What a catch! What a catch by Duke Williams! Touchdown, Eskimos! Bryant Mitchell! It's going to be intercepted. Arjun Colhoun.
Mike appears to be a CFL encyclopedia.
Welcome back to the Turf District for the Eskimo Empire Podcast, brought to you by our title sponsor, United Construction Company. Check out all the great builds they do at unitedconstruction.ca, and if you're a commercial estimator, they are looking for one right now, so check out the website and apply there. Check out all of our links as well while you're online, and you can find those at eskempire.ca. I'm Andrew, of course, and joining me in the Turf District tonight is the one and only superfan Mike.
I've been a little bored lately. Nothing really happening.
No, I know it's been really quiet.
It's so quiet in this business season.
I know. It's like, why? Why do we do this? What are we going to talk about? It's like a 5-minute show.
It's got to babble on for a couple minutes and call it a day.
Exactly. Also back in the co-host chair, it is our favorite little sister, Kayla.
Hello.
How you doing?
Oh, fresh off of sizzling my hair, so that's great.
I'd have to be a lot lower to do that.
Wow, yeah. Hair sizzle. I didn't think we'd be talking about that this evening.
No.
But,
things happen in the... Oh, I don't want to say my last name. Things happen in the my house that are very random and
Shay Kayla.
inconsequential.
Shay Kayla.
What?
Shay
Shay
Kayla.
Kayla. It's French for Kayla's house.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought you meant like S-H-A-Y. I was like...
Who?
Kayla.
It's like, that's not my
Shay
name.
It's like that's her new nickname.
Shay-Kay, what?
We just gave it to her. She went away from commissioners. Now we're going to call her Shay Kay.
Just whatever pops out.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun that way. Hey, guys, we have new Earthquake shirts on order.
We do.
They are now ordered.
They look great.
So I assume that we will get them in about 3 weeks' time. I am excited to get those in here, and then we'll put out some spots for people to come and grab some new Kwaku shirts.
Can't wait.
I can't wait to have them. They look really phenomenal.
Yeah,
you did a great job.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I'm excited for it. Last time we recorded, I forgot to mention as well, we need to welcome a couple of new podcasts into the CFPN. Now, right at this moment, they hate us, but it is the Mouchoir podcast and the Wood Cookie Sawcast, both following the Ottawa Red Blacks. I do want to say thanks to Rod, actually. He had me on last week to talk to me about obliterating his offense, and then I was also asked to be on Canadian Football Countdown with Ryan.
I listened to them both
to do a little bit of free agency breakdown. So thanks, guys, for having me on. But welcome to those two to the network.
Yeah, I can blame Ed. Sorry,
exactly.
Not our fault. You blame Ed.
I agree.
Exactly.
He did all that to us. We just learned.
I listened to both of them. They were great. They both announced, of course, that they are on the Canadian Football Podcast Network, and both very welcome. Janine, of course, had some experience being with the Bleed Red Blacks over at Mouchoir and Michaela. And then Rod's got an interesting perspective as well, being an American who is sort of new to the CFL, living in Los Angeles
just north of, in California. Yeah, but
both excellent. I mean, if you haven't already, give them both a listen. Go find them and give them a spin. I think you'll really like them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rod got a brand new board he was telling me about that has like all of these fancy features. I'm like,
talk dirty to me,
dude. You're just making me. This doesn't seem fair. You're the new kid. Why do you have that? I have a room. Shut up, Rod. No, we're good.
Count your blessings.
That's right. All right. Well, we got a lot to talk about tonight, so let's get to it. First, we're going to bring in our guest, returning for a second appearance on the podcast. It's Mr. Bud Steen. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, these are fantastic chats that we have with you, so you're welcome anytime.
Try not to bore you.
Yeah, well, not at all.
Not going to happen.
How's the business season been for you?
It has been quiet. I've been out to Toronto once. We went through a bunch of stuff from last year, did some basic planning for 2019. So we got ourselves in order in that respect. Now we're kicking around, looking at making some adjustments on standards, and perhaps presenting a few rules to Rules Committee, see if we can tweak the game a little bit. Awesome. And then go from there. It's we're not too far away. We've got meetings planned mid-April. The referees are going out to Toronto, so we're going to be meeting with them, getting them organized, setting them up with their crews, and just getting ready to roll stuff out in May. Awesome.
Now, I was going to ask you if you had meetings and things that were coming up. I figured this was kind of an active part of it.
Yep.
Because you have to be prepared. I want to ask you more about all that reffing stuff later, but I do want to ask you right now, I asked you this beforehand too, the difference between having now the set crews that move around. I think it's much better as a reffing group. You find that's much better to have it that way?
I believe that overall the overall performance of the staff is superior when they're in crews, because they're tighter units. The officials get to know one another a little bit better, get to know their own strengths, their weaknesses, are able to make slight adjustments to our mechanics so that they're giving good quality coverage, and we find that things run a little bit smoother when we're in crews. It was certainly my preference as an official. I always enjoyed my time in crews more than when we were just picking up games on a week-by-week basis. The downside is you only get to see the guys once a year.
That's true.
And there's a lot of really good guys. So if you get stuck on a shelf somewhere, if you get stuck with a bunch, as management, we take a look each year at who we've partnered together, who's working with who works well, who we think might be able to raise another group a bit. So we're making adjustments. We're not going to just leave people in one pod for their entire careers with us. Let's just say it's going that way for 2019. We're looking forward to it. We've talked some about what the crews are going to look like, and again, it's getting to the point where things are starting to get exciting.
Awesome. Well, and if anything else, you can say at least you're not reffing that game in the NFL. That was such. Sorry, Kayla. I did it solely for the look, and I did get it.
A question I have is: this last year we introduced an eighth official on the field.
Yep.
How has that been going so far, in your opinion?
That's a long pause.
Well, I don't think we're going to be repeating it.
Okay.
All right.
That's fair.
That's an easy. That's probably a good answer.
All right, political answer.
That's very good. Yeah, well done. I appreciate that. Let's actually jump to Esks news, and then we're going to come back to the reffing side thing, because if we don't start talking about these Esks news things, we're all gonna go nuts. Let's start with one of the big stories that came out last Monday, and that was that Len Rhodes is not going to be the president of the Edmonton Eskimos. His last day, February the 20th. So as you are likely listening to this, he's no longer with the team. So obviously there's a little bit of a mix in the fan reaction, but overall a lot of people had wanted this for a while. So I guess that overall it's not looked on poorly. Is that the best way to put it, or what would you say?
I mean, I don't know if a lot of people even really understand what the president does or his responsibilities or her responsibilities with the Canadian Football League team. So I think that Len wore a lot of things that maybe he didn't deserve, but there were also some things that he was ultimately responsible for that a lot of people didn't care for. So I know that some people really loved the halftime entertainment. That was definitely one of his pet projects. And other people had no time for it whatsoever, but perhaps that wasn't the target for them. So whatever it is, he's had, I know, some health issues he's worked through, and that's one of the things that you're going to continue to work through. So as far as I'm concerned, best of luck and wherever he goes from now.
Yeah, I agree. And as far as I'm concerned, Len was always kind to me. So I don't really have much negative that way. And I believe he was a big part in getting the tailgating going. So that's a big part of a game day experience for me. So I do wish him all the best, and hopefully we can move on. I think that's probably fair at this point. Got any names of somebody who you think might take that spot on?
Several.
I
hear lots of people.
Please fill me in.
Well, I've heard a lot of names that get out there. I know that Sean Fleming is someone who did apply for the position when in 2011 when Len came on. There's talk that I don't know if he's been contacted. I don't know if he's even interested. He makes pretty good money. PricewaterhouseCoopers.
That's what I'd be.
So it's a heck of a not demotion, but a salary change. That's for sure. And of course, Tom Richards is another name that I've heard come out, being that he, again, very successful in the business community. He's been on the board the last couple of years for the Eskimos. Dwayne Vanneau, fresh off of co-chairing the Grey Cup, which was, by all accounts, very successful. And then a name I put in there was Paul Reckner.
Of course.
I thought, who better? Again, very well respected everywhere. That's at PR Reckner.
That's right, yes.
On Twitter.
And really, because whenever he did a presser, the baritone is amazing.
It's true.
That's really what...
The groundswell of support, I think, in his direction.
I think that's really what it should be.
So, yeah. Those are my picks, anyway.
Okay. That's all right. Bud, do you even have interaction with presidents when they're in the league? Like, again, we don't really know much about that.
Not really. My engagement with the club would be at lower levels than the president, dealing with the community folks, doing Football 101, and with coach and GM associated with the product on the field. I know what I like when I go to a football game, but I'm not so sure what it takes to put bums in seats. So that president stuff is, that's just sort of over there somewhere.
Are we necessarily the target market too, right? I mean, who are they going for? Are they going for the younger crowd? I don't know. Are they starting to worry about older crowd not coming back when they can have a 65-inch UHD TV at home for the price of their season tickets?
Yeah, that's true.
But some very good names suggested. I mean, there are.
I was going to say you know some of those guys outside of
quality people. Certainly Tom and Sean. I know pretty well, and they're both quality individuals, people who bleed green and gold, and who have lots of business experience as well. So they understand what it might take to get sponsorships, to get people to associate with the ball club. So, it's I know it will be a long process. They're going to take their time to get to the right person in place, and let's cross our fingers because it's important. Demographics are changing. People are deciding not to come to ball games, and we're seeing it all over the place, and clearly the future of the league depends on season ticket holders, people buying tickets.
Still a gate-driven league.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
but even the NFL, I've heard, has been dropping as well for attendance. So I mean,
a bit. They've still got.
They're
a few bucks in the bank.
So I think it depends where it is as well.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
True. Yeah,
Regina's not dropping a whole lot, but they have a much smaller stadium than we do. So
Well, same with the NFL too, right? Like, I'm sorry, there ain't no Saints game that's going unsold out.
Right.
Like,
it's
always, so it really depends on the people and their passion for that specific team.
Yeah.
And what else there's to do in that town and the whole bit.
Oh, hello, New Orleans.
Nice. So now, Kayla, what are your thoughts on Len? Because I know you've had mixed feelings on what Len's done over the time.
My position hasn't changed of what I said last year. I think Len is a great guy, and I think he loves the city, and I think he loves that team, and I think he's great with the community, and I think he's great with charitable organizations. What I don't think he's great at is just the whole football business as a whole. So I know I applaud him for trying things, because I know friends of mine who don't even watch football went for the halftime shows because they wanted to see Ludacris, because they wanted to see different.
Do they come back?
Well, no, but I'm just saying he's trying, right?
Yep.
These different things, and it did work for that one time, those 2 times, those 3 times, depending on the artist. But as a scheme that works for the rest of 5-10 years, I don't know, like, that's not my forte, and I don't really associate with people younger than me or even my own age because I find them dull. No one comes up from their phone.
That's why she hangs out here.
Exactly.
Now we find out.
Because you're not glued to your phone. Like, I don't know. Attention spans are like this big nowadays.
I'm sorry, what? Pardon?
Exactly. You're supposed to be old, though. Don't do that.
No, supposed to be about it.
You're just deaf.
Yeah. Pardon? Anyway.
But I think it was a decision that had to be made. I think some people's approach was nasty and uncalled for. And I don't appreciate fans acting that way because it puts a terrible mark on the whole fan base. And I'm just going to say it. I don't appreciate you people calling him names. It's not right. I don't really care.
He's still a human being.
He is still a human being.
Yeah.
And if you didn't like him, that's great. Just say, okay, time to move on. Let's go. But you don't have to call him names. You don't have to hit under the belt. Like, it's just, don't be like that. Don't be those tool bags. Like,
yeah, I agree.
He had some good things. He had some bad things, like most human beings. But I wish him well.
No.
I know, right? Like,
no.
He was a robot, I thought.
Well, not usually. No, he's pretty good. All right. Well, I think we've tackled that issue. I'll be very curious to see what happens in that position. Like we said,
it could be somebody. Who of us had heard of Len Rhodes prior to 2011? Right,
absolutely.
So could be somebody that none of us have ever heard of, but for whatever reason, checks all the boxes.
Yeah, exciting. So, can they run without a president this year? Just out of curiosity.
Not for the whole year, I don't think. They have to have. They want to put somebody in place, but I think they'll take their time.
Yeah,
I think you could, but it's very chaotic. I mean, you have a president who's doing the wishes of the board as a whole. So if you don't have that person, then the board has to make all those decisions, and that can be a little tougher too. So absolutely. It could be Brad Sparrow. Who knows?
For interim kind of idea. Yeah, we'll see how that works. All right, let's talk about some players. So Monday night prior to free agency opening, Eskimos got busy right after they announced the Len thing in the morning, and in the evening they re-signed a bunch of guys. Co-host Kenny back for 2 years, 781 yards last year, so I'm not upset about that.
Not at all.
Calvin McCarty back for his 13th year with the team.
Oldest man on the team now.
Oh, it's lovely. One more. Come on now, Calvin. One more is good.
Yeah.
Hightower back for 1 year.
And that's great for the secondary.
If he can stay healthy, then that's fantastic. Colin Kelly back on a 2-year deal, which will be a great challenge on that right tackle position. We'll get into that in a minute. And of course, return to the king.
Yes,
Ryan Kinger is back for a 3-year deal.
That's outstanding.
All 3 years, 7 years he's played with the Esks and has a chance to be here for 10. I love it.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very much, especially in this modern era where you have 1 and 2 year contracts. It seems to be almost like a journeyman league where you get guys that are here for a year or two and then they're off to another team. Sean Lemon's a great example. Of someone who's played for a lot of teams. Kevin Glenn is the ultimate example, having played or at least be signed by all 9 teams. So having someone like when we had J.C. Sherritt, who played his entire career for this team, we talked about Tom Richards and Sean Fleming, both played their entire career in Edmonton. So having a local boy play for Edmonton his entire career would be just another outstanding feather in that cap.
Yeah,
for special for him too.
Yeah. Well, and like you said in the Periscope, Bud, Ryan King is kind of your go-to guy on the team because you've known him the most,
and he's just he's really just a quality person. You know, he's deep in the community. He works hard at his charitable stuff.
Great with kids,
and he's over at my golf club working with the juniors. And he's just an all-around great human being. He's someone that you would want to be your ambassador for your ball club. So I can understand it both ways. You can see why he wants to be here, and you can certainly see why the Eskimos would want him. Beyond the fact that he's probably the best at his position in the country. So it's kind of simple.
Yeah, well, and him and Calvin together on those special teams have been throwing stuff at other special teams for years that people are like, they don't know what the two of them are going to do together. So
and people forget what a long snap. They figure he snaps the ball, but he's also one of the first guys downfield.
Absolutely,
just great cover, great tackler.
Yeah, love having Kinger here. Now, they also did sign a couple of former draft picks. Running back Alex Taylor, who did go back to Western last year and, of course, helped them win a Vanier Cup. And then they add wide receiver Tavon Smith. Of course, we drafted him in 2016, and since then he's spent time with the Colts, the Raiders, and the Jaguars. That could be an amazing signing.
Yeah, I mean, you're only as good as your Canadians, and having a Canadian that is an NFL quality, certainly to have played for the last 3 years down in the States, other than a few injuries, that's what really kind of kept him off, I think, some of those radars. I mean, he's got, I've heard, upside of being, like Andy Fantu's kind of quality. I mean, and that's not a name you want to throw around lightly.
No kidding. Well, and I look at, and granted, yes, I know he's been injured a lot, but you look at Arjun Colquhoun coming here, and when you to see him play, like his speed and his hitting is amazing. So if we're now translating that into a wide receiver position with a guy who has hands and speed and still is a Canadian, that could be huge.
Yep.
Huge. I'd be very excited about that.
God knows we're missing some action. Receiving.
All right. Well, let's talk about our losses first. On Tuesday, we had a few losses. Yeah, I know. We'll get to that in a second. But obviously the biggest one, Mike Riley going to BC.
Yeah,
not a shocker.
No, we talked about it most of last year.
Yeah, and we thought at the time it was certainly a 50-50 proposition. It was basically going to be Edmonton or BC, we thought. Maybe a small chance somewhere else, but it just seemed as it got closer and closer and closer to that free agency date, it started to be tilting more towards that BC side of things. There's just, you can't compete with being that close to your family. Now there are, from what reports, that there are other reasons as well, but that's got to be top. I mean, the first thing he said in his presser was, if anyone knows me, they know family comes first.
Right. That's a huge thing.
How do you compete with being able to drive home in an hour?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And yes, he has mentioned other things about wanting to win and all those types of things.
And he felt they'd give him the best chance to win championships.
Yeah, and in a minute we'll talk about what happened at about 12:15, and we'll see if we have the same feeling. Anyway, the other people we lost, AA Ron Grimes, which, I mean, I'm upset just because I can't say that name anymore.
And
that's hair.
Oh, the hair, the flow. We lost another flow. What the heck? D-Walk going out to Toronto.
Yep.
Chris Edwards. Now I got to give kudos to Bill here, who
Bill.
one of the best tweets of the day, which was as he was about to sign and then got flagged 15 yards for dropping the pen. Beautiful. Yeah. Beautifully done. Josh Woodman, I knew that one would be tough on you there, Kayla. Heading out to BC as well. Yeah. Christophe Normand headed back to Montreal.
Right.
And of course, Nate Bahar headed back to Ottawa.
Yeah.
Which, not a surprise.
Perfect fit for him, I think.
At all. Right. And with us just talking about Tavon Smith, Nate Bahar probably wasn't in our plans really anyway.
No, I think the way Natey Adjei plays on special teams really is one of those guys that we had to have. Plus, he can play those routes on offense, and he's a dual threat. I mean, we had that one game where he was scoring a touchdown, then right on special teams and takes the big hit, right?
To tackle the next play.
So, I mean, it's just, he's a guy that I think is great that you can put into the offense, or he can be a backup. So, he's great to have if we're going to be running a couple of, at least one, if not two, non-import receivers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Kayla, you were saying that the Woodman one kind of surprised you the most?
Yeah, actually it did. I don't know, I just thought he was so involved in the Eskimos, and not. I don't know if Herbie brought him in.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah, he was drafted.
Was he 2015? Okay, I thought he was 2016.
Yeah.
Or maybe a little bit later. Okay, but still, it sucks.
Oh, Woody.
Kid. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I think the problem is we just have so much.
He was going to lose his number anyway.
Yeah, the talents and people coming up. Yeah, that's right. He wore 7, which is Harris.
Yeah.
But people coming up that were drafted after him. I think we look at Jordan Beaulieu. We look at Godfrey Onyeka. Mm-hmm. He's just getting pushed, and I think with maybe he fit the older defense, but that our new defensive coordinator in Lawley figured that he wanted a different style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, again, one of those unintended consequences of getting new staff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is fine, because if Onyeka gets some playtime, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's okay. That's great. Yeah.
Sorry, Woody.
Yeah.
And I love Jordan Beaulieu. I've been pumping his tires all year. He's a big hitter. I haven't watched him long enough to see how well he thinks the game at that position, but I mean he was excellent in college. At that
he got a pretty face, so let's keep that protected.
Yeah, that was my first thought, but
I know
that was the selling point for Mike.
Yeah.
I wanted to say it so it didn't look a little weird on your part.
That's right. Because I'm so old.
Kayla.
So
that's right. Yeah. See, and I think Bully could actually make it so that people are afraid to go over the middle. The way he hits.
We haven't had somebody like that since Trent Brown, and that's a long time. That's a big hitter. If
he can keep up with the speed and like you say, think that
Lou
position.
Delorier,
my goodness, that could be a big play.
That's
on
help for us for sure.
Was there any on that list there, Bud, that kind of caught you by surprise, or did they mostly kind of make sense?
Well, a lot of it, most of it's driven by dollars,
of course,
and so no, I wasn't really shocked. I mean, I was certainly amazed at the extent of what happened with a couple of the clubs.
Yeah,
you find. Generally, you find teams that dabble. They stick their toe in the water. A couple of guys here or there. Maybe they pick the top guy off the list, and then they're quiet. But to rebuild entire clubs, it was really a first for me. And it will be interesting to see what that does, because there's competing philosophies. You build from within, or you pick and choose. And can you keep a whole bunch of all-stars happy?
Yeah,
and there were many all-stars.
Yes, there sure were. Yeah, there sure were.
We did lose 2.
I was going to say, on the other hand, I mean, all-stars were flying all over the place.
Well, they were
too. I mean, how many? Well, we've said this so many times. It was like creating a new league with the amount of free agents there were.
Yeah.
Like
1 or 2 year contracts. Yeah.
Everybody was going around somewhere. So we weren't the only team to sign. We signed the most, but we didn't. But I mean, does that mean that we automatically are winning?
Well, again,
I don't know. I mean, makes us better.
I mean, one thing Bud said was that it doesn't happen a lot, but it did happen before, where you had a team sign a whole bunch of big players, and that was the 2015 Ottawa Red Blacks. Mm-hmm. 2014, They went 2-16. If we recall, who was the associate GM on that team was Brock Sunderland.
Yes,
and they brought in a ton of people. They brought in the receivers. They brought in
receiving core,
right? And then in their second year, they're in the Grey Cup. Third year, they win the Grey Cup. So it certainly has been done. It's also been done by a lot of teams that didn't have that kind of success. I mean, we've seen Winnipeg do it. We've seen Saskatchewan do it. We've seen other teams. We've never seen really Calgary do it, and they've had a lot of success, at least in the West. So
yes,
will this work? It's worked once. Will lightning strike twice? I don't know. We'll see. Or is this just going to be another one of those examples of you gotta, like Bud says, build from within?
Yeah. Well, so let's get to all of the action then on the signing side, because they got all excited.
We got a few.
Just a few. Starts shortly, I believe it was 10 after 12 was the first email that I got.
Odell's record is safe for being signed in like 45 seconds after free agency.
Yeah, well, that's good that he keeps that locked in. Brock decides to make a splash and welcomes in Trevor
Cannonball.
Well, let's just to start on the offensive side of the ball. So Trevor Harris comes in as the quarterback on a 2-year deal. He brings along with him Greg Ellingson on a 2-year deal, Sir Vincent Rogers on a 2-year deal. Then later in the day, they had DeVaris Daniels on a 1-year deal, Ricky Collins on a 3-year deal. 3-year deal.
Wow.
Yeah, which, I mean, those are almost unheard of in this day and age. And then the next day, they're bringing in Kadir Spooner for a 1-year, Anthony Parker for a 1-year, and they did also shore up the O-line by re-signing Travis Bond for a 1-year. So I don't even know where to start with this, but
I mean, look at the All-Stars. Look at the acclamation they've had. I mean, you've got Ellingson. He's been an All-Star the last 3 years.
Right.
He's top 5, top 6 receiver every year. He's broken 1,000 yards 5 times in receivers. He's a guy that he's not coming without baggage.
Of course,
We talked about in December, there were some issues, off-field issues.
Yep.
We will see how that, hopefully he can grow from that. DeVaris Daniels, 26 years old.
Yeah.
Super young guy who's had a lot of success. He was the most outstanding rookie in 2016. Ricky Collins, did you see it was a horrible game, the East semifinal against Hamilton, but he was the best receiver they had.
Right.
And he's also got some returning experience. So, I mean, I think that offensive side of the ball, we're going to see, at least we have some chemistry between our quarterback and a couple of the guys that came with him. So.
Right. What do you think of that, Bud, with I think we talked about this a bit on the Periscope, but Harris coming, but of course bringing these other 2 guys with him?
Well, it puts them probably 6 weeks ahead, of strangers.
Yeah, right.
They're able to come in. They're talking the same language. They're thinking on the same wavelength. Harris has seen that move before and knows after that move comes this move and knows when to release. It's a big plus. I don't think there's any question about it, and it will really help the gel will really help that club perform offensively quickly. It's generally it's going to take your offense a little bit of time to come out of the blocks, and hopefully that's going to help the club a little bit this year. And it's going to look an awful lot different when we're behind the ball. I think in 2019 you're going to see different philosophy, a different approach to the attack, which could be very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Kayla, did this blow your mind when all these names started coming across?
I have to just give my all to Brock. He, not that I'm super smart, but definitely just outwitted me because I was skeptical. I was I know all what do we have? 40 free agents on the Eskimos?
We did.
It's up there, yeah.
So. And we knew that Riley was going after that interview in December, I think, that he had with 6:30. I'm like, there's too many butts in that. He's gone. He's gone. So I kind of had my morning back then, and then when this all happened, I'm like, all right, let's move on. Let's get going.
Yeah, where's the next chapter?
And Andrew even talked about it on the Wood Cookie Sawcast, just saying, that Monday night before free agency starts, how many bottles of gin were being cracked and people just drinking them up because they knew that the next day Riley was gone.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just the thing too, right? Is okay, I just wanted it announced, and it felt like it was taking forever just to be announced, and I'm like, I just need you to sign that dang paper so Brock can go do his thing.
Yeah.
But then he did his thing, and everyone was like.
And people talk about how brilliant it was of Brock to allow other teams to talk to Riley at that point.
Yeah, I remember when everybody was going, "What's he doing?"
Yeah,
that's what he was doing.
But I love how quick he was I told you guys, Brock had a consistency plan. You just got to chill. He's got this. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And you're just I don't believe you. But you're right, Kwaku. You're right.
Yeah.
But just going off of what Bud said, just how everything is going to start changing now, and we're going to see a completely new offense and game playbook. Everything is going to change, and I don't think I've ever been so excited for change. I think after Mitchell left, I'm I am ready for this to be wiped out and to start fresh and to start new and just do something different, because as much as I love Riley and would have liked to have seen him come back,
Sure.
one thing that really started to annoy me is how long he would hold on to the ball.
Yep.
And that was my biggest pet peeve, and it wasn't getting any better.
And that's his style, right?
And that's his style, but at the same time, there was a reason why we weren't getting things done on the offense last year, is because it's not all on him, but when you hold the ball that long, your offensive line is getting tired. They can't hold guys for so long. Then you got like helmet to helmet and stuff. Like, there's so many contributing factors when you hold the ball. Sure, it's fine for a few plays, but every single play, it was just mind-boggling, frustrating.
Especially watching Calgary, who's such a quick release.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'll give Bo Levi. He's off the mark, and it's impressive to watch because
But
his
that's Dickinson, right?
But it's also Bo Levi and his receivers having trust. It's that.
And now having Harris as more of a pocket passer, is he going to be firing it out of there quicker?
Well, and to have,
we don't know what was even said last year. If it was, we need to get the ball out quicker, but that's just not Mike's style. It could be either, right? Yeah,
and that's fine. That's fine. For me, I hated it. It drove me bananas. It's like when Drew Brees comes so far out of the pocket, I'm like, are you going to the other side of the field? Come back!
Yeah,
but
the play's still going.
Oh my gosh! But it's great to see, because Trevor knows Moss, Trevor knows Brock. They all know each other. Then you've got Ellingson, and then you've got Sir Vincent. Like, I don't want Ottawa, but they have that solidification that's gonna, like Bud said again, put them ahead a little bit more, and hopefully this team is gonna mesh.
And the trust.
And the trust,
yeah,
exactly.
That's what we're hoping for.
That's a huge factor, and I think that's why Bo Levi stayed in Calgary.
Absolutely. All right, well, Brock wasn't done there. On the defense, he decided to load up a little as well, adding in linebacker Larry Dean on a one-year contract, Don Unamba on a one-year contract, from Winnipeg, I guess, Javon Santos Knox a one-year contract, and Anthony Orange coming over in a 2-year contract from the Lions.
Bringing him back.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly. Yeah, Anthony Green and Gold.
Tony Green.
I think you should change the name. Anyway,
Antonio Verde.
Personally, I look at this list. I know we talked about it beforehand, and we thought, oh, wouldn't it be great if Larry Dean could come and fill in that spot of JT Sheridan?
We had a lot of ors. Him or Don Unamba. Or.
And we got both. But I honestly believe that Santos Knox might be the sneakiest excellent signing in there, because
he's the only one of the four that wasn't an all-star.
And he has speed and can hit.
He's a hitter.
Like, I don't know how many times we played with Winnipeg and I heard that name stopping the run. It's just what we need.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to have
what's his position? Sorry?
Will linebacker.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So my question is, currently our will linebacker has been a Canadian position. So we have Adam Konar, we've had Malama Shimanga, we've had Blair Smith. We had a lot of people the last couple of years rotate through with all those the injuries. So the question is, are we moving that to an import position, or are we maybe going with a 3-4 defense?
I loved when you suggested that to me the other day, of them going to a 3-4, because
great for run.
Give me that lineup that you sent me.
Well, I mean, if you do that, you've got on the front three, then you've got Mondo as a nose tackle.
Yep.
And Badman, Bazzi, and Kwaku on the outsides.
Yes.
And traditionally, usually have a bigger guy in there because you've got 4 linebackers. But then your linebackers, you've got Don Unamba, who's more of a nickelback position. Strong side linebacker, corner linebacker, what do we want to call that? Larry Dean, Jovan Santos Knox, and maybe an Adam Konar or a Malama Shimanga or whoever.
Man, I would be so excited if they ran that.
I would be too. I mean, we're talking about a guy in Philip Lawley who worked with Chris Jones, both under Chris Jones and who helped mentor Chris Jones before that, who loved to rush 3.
Yep.
So who knows? And you can bring one of the linebackers in on a blitz, but it's like
which one is it going to be, and where are they coming from?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I love even the opportunity that might be there, and when you see it all being all-star linebackers that you're signing, somebody's got
and that's the thing is,
like you said, are they going to switch that?
And you've got that 3-4, and then maybe on certain packages you rotate in a Mike Moore, and then you drop to 3 linebackers, and you've got those choices, so they stay fresh. So
wow, I don't know. Do you think that would ever happen in the CFL these days, Bud? After
innovation, I can see it. Coach Lawley is an interesting guy. He's got a ton of games behind him. He's smart. He's competitive, and has a bit of a nasty streak to him, which you need in that position. I think the Eskimo fans will be satisfied with what they see offensively this year. Right. I think they're going to be surprised and very pleased by what they're going to see on the defensive side of the ball.
That's what I think.
I think the days of bending are behind us for a while. Yeah. And just watch out.
More attacking.
Yes.
Do we feel like the special teams will improve?
I would have to think so, solely on the fact that we had a lot of guys that were playing on the defensive side of the ball
also
that might now be more special teamers, and we might see some of those special teamers we had before not return.
But we still have guys like Blair Smith. We still have Corey Jones. We still have Natea J.
Yeah, absolutely. And these guys are huge. On both sides. I mean, they were great when defense when they had to play. Corey Jones was a massive signing.
Didn't have a lot of losses when he was on the field.
Absolutely. But he's also a monster on the special team. So does that help the overall? I think so.
Time will tell.
We have a lot of talent to pick from.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people weren't really sold on Brock coming into this, and I think at the end of this, Brock just said, "Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?" That was a beautiful tweet, by the way, Kayla. Extra points to you. But I mean, that's really what happened.
Yeah, I think that was. There's two parts of that job at this point. Is we need to bring in people, and then we also need to get people that are going to be, and these are the people that are going to be higher priced.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's some depth people maybe in there. I don't think Ricky Collins comes with a huge price tag necessarily.
Right.
But now the next thing is to get those people that are going to outperform their contract or they're cheap on those entry-level contracts.
Well, can't we initially sign like 3 players for the price of Mike?
Pretty close.
It depends who it is. I mean, we have Mike. You have Trevor Harris, right?
I thought that Harris. And
I mean, that's 75.
That's 175,000 savings.
So that's basically, you can say we got the price of Mike Riley. We got Ellingson and Harris, and had 25,000 left over.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
To throw towards maybe Sir Vincent Rogers, which would tip the scales to bring him over. So now you almost got 3 players for that price, like you say. But I mean, what 3 players?
Yeah, exactly. Or, it's not like it was...
Or maybe that's Unamba plus...
Exactly. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, absolutely. You know. No, I think that was... I thought that was actually a brilliant move. Mm-hmm. Brilliant move. I'll give Brock tons of credit for that. I thought...
He won the day. I'm sorry, he did.
Yeah, he did. I mean, it didn't... We all know, and
you don't have the Grey Cup.
You do not win the Grey Cup in February. And we've seen lots of teams make splashes and then do nothing. The team still has to get out there and gel as a team.
Yep.
I guess the other thing we should mention is, I mean, right now we don't need to be under a cap, but in a few months we will have to be, and so there will be.
How many tweets do we say people go? Do they know there's a salary cap with
us NBC both, right? Yeah. And yes, we do, and that'll all change when we get closer to training camp, and so we may see some other
contracts
names
are not guaranteed too
that we don't know. But
there's lots more to come. We've got a draft to think about.
So. Absolutely,
which I love. I love draft time.
Oh, so. It's going to be so good. I hope we get to talk to the main draft person again, because I love doing that every year.
I think that's why I like Onyeka so much. It was our first draft.
I know. He was so awesome. Yeah, he's such a good dude.
He's so nice. He likes all my Instagram.
Yeah, see, mine's Kwaku. That's why I'm.
Well, that's fair.
Go where's Kwaku. All right, let's take a really quick break, and then we will come back with more stories from Bud. We'll be right back after this.
Hey, this is Ryan King, Grey Cup champ.
And Calvin McCarty, also Grey Cup champ.
And you are listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
The Eskimo Empire Podcast is brought to you by United Construction Company. As a full-service commercial general contractor, United Construction Company serves large and small-scale commercial, light industrial, and multifamily residential construction projects across Western Canada. UCC is a relationship-focused builder, forming a trust and respect that is at the forefront of their commitment to quality, value, and integrity. Visit their website at unitedconstruction.ca to find out more and support them as they support the Empire. Get loud for me. join the Empire online.
Find us at eskempire.ca.
Check out all the new blogs and then follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
For more history, follow at Esks History on Twitter.
And even more of my pics on Esk Empire Photo.
Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to help the pod grow. Thanks again for listening. Let's get back to the show. All right, we're back. Now, there is no Esks history moment this week.
No room.
Sad. But, of course, we had so much to talk about. So, instead, I thought we might ask Bud for a good story of the Esks days of old. Maybe one with one of our possible returning coaches, either AJ Gass or Jason Tucker or something along those lines. Or
Jason
do you have any good stories of those guys back in the day?
You know, AJ was such a miserable... on the field. I'm quite looking forward to because I always start my time at practice with the special teams coach, and so it will be interesting. I worked a Labor Day game with him.
Those were always fun with him.
Well, they were brutal.
Yeah.
And he went after one of the Calgary players, and he tried to cleat him, and he missed him. I don't know whether he missed him on purpose or whether the Calgary player got out of the way quickly enough, but as it turned out, it was just AJ and I walking up the field with him understanding fairly vociferously that if anything like that happened again, he'd be without his shoes on in the shower. We did a game, and it was the preseason home game. Oh man, the years just fold together.
Sure,
I'm sure.
Here at Commonwealth, I'm thinking 10 years ago. No, it's got to be more than that. It's got to be 15 years ago. Anyway, we had begun using the Fox 40 whistles, which, if you've not ever blown one yourself, be very careful because they are incredibly loud.
Okay,
like they're assaulting.
Wow.
Okay.
Women should carry a Fox 40 with them at all times.
Really?
Because you can stop people in your tracks. And so what we used to do, the gray hairs used to coach the young guys coming up, is that if a fight broke out on the field, to blow your whistle in the ear hole of the player.
Oh, God.
Because the fight would be over. AJ is tired of the game. He doesn't want to play anymore. One of the Calgary guys pisses him off, and so they get into a fight. And the next thing we know, my head linesman, local guy, lots of character, not really sure how Woody got tied up in it, but he's in the midst of breaking the two of them up. There's three of them. They're rolling around on the ground, and the back judge comes flying in, trying to be helpful, jumps into the pile and starts blowing his whistle. So between punches, Gas would stop. He'd turn to the guy and he'd scream, "Stop that!" And then he'd punch the Calgary guy. And then the Calgary guy would get his head out of the foxhole as he's being pummeled, and he'd yell. Finally, the head linesman got this thing blown too close to his ear. His head comes up and he goes, "For the love of God, shove that whistle. I'll deal with the fight." And at which point, Gas realized that enough was enough. The fight broke up. Okay, everybody's going to the dressing room, and it was all over. And we had to have the chat with the guy after the game that maybe what we were talking about was not the Fox 40 whistle to be blown in guys' ears. It's the old Acme Thunderer that wasn't quite as painful. So,
oh, that's outstanding.
We'll see if the coach has gotten his hearing back or not. Find out.
I know what I'm asking him when I talk to how's the
Might
ears.
be lip reading like Jed.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. Now let's talk more about the refs and the game now. So now the last I saw you was at Grey Cup. How was that for you, by the way? And what did you think of the game itself?
Grey Cup was fabulous. As you're aware, because we spoke about it, the local officials always host a party this year. The Edmonton Football Officials Association hosted the party at the CKUA Performance Space.
Right.
It was a party. We had a blast. Nice. That really helped get Grey Cup going. No, I thought the city really did a great job with Grey Cup this year. It was chilly, but other than the field, I didn't hear anybody bitching. I didn't hear people complaining about being in Edmonton. I think the league really did itself proudly, and it really set the bar high for Grey Cups to come. It'll be interesting to see how Calgary performs. That part was great. The game, I was disappointed. I think that there was some impact from the field. The fact that nobody had been on it for a few weeks, busting the frozen blades of grass up and all of that. Right. I mean, we've heard all of those stories. That was disappointing. And not unlike the Super Bowl, it wasn't really an offensive demonstration of prowess or anything like that. So I've seen better Grey Cups.
Sure.
You've been in better Grey Cups.
I've been in better Grey Cups. That is true. It was good to see Calgary hold it together. It was good to see Calgary perform as well as they did. So
is it?
Kudos for them.
Us, but sure. Yeah. I wish the other quarterback did better because then he'd be coming here as the champion. I'd be fine with that. I'd have been fine with that. Right. He really should have been. He put on a show the week before.
He did.
Keep that in mind, people. You want to know who Trevor Harris is? Watch that East final.
29 of 32, 6 touchdowns.
Good Lord. And now he's under Jason Moss.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. Now, okay, let's talk a little bit now on the reffing side of things. How did you feel about the changes that were put in last year going to one challenge and then, of course, the no illegal contact being able to be reviewed?
I like them both. The challenges for illegal contact did more to frustrate the fans, I think, than any single other
fishing.
Other piece. It slowed the game down. That coaches were throwing that one just to disrupt. So I was happy that we took that one off their plate, and going down to one challenge, mixed feelings. I've advocated for 2019 that if you win the first, you get a second.
Awesome,
because
exactly
we did have some examples where the guys let us down. Coach had to challenge for,
whatever it was,
incomplete passes on the sideline.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
That one in particular was a really tough one.
Yep.
So I like the idea of throwing the second one in. There's a few other things we did last year. The blindside block rule, where you can't come back and decleat somebody heading back towards your own dead ball line. That was a good change. Adjustment on low blocks. We've pretty much taken low blocks completely out of the game, other than in the tackle box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that part is an awful lot safer. I think there's a few tweaks we we should look at, and which I'm hopeful Rules Committee will favorably consider. I'm a fan of targeting. I think that I think we need to do a better job of policing Cowboys who are looking to separate receivers' heads from their shoulders,
right,
and that kind of stuff. Sure, we've got an unnecessary roughness foul for that, but no, if you've truly targeted somebody, I think it's time to spend the rest of the day in the showers.
Yeah, and possibly disciplinary.
Yes. So I'd like to see something like that come in. One of the things that I've pressed for this year, and I don't know that football minds will necessarily support it, but I would like to see more authority given to the video official. I would like to see the video official have the ability to call roughing the passer. I would like to see the video official have the ability to call targeting and throw people out of football games. It would obviously not be something that's done lightly, but I think that the speed of the game is such that a lot of it is very, very difficult to see when you're down there in the midst of it all. Appreciate the fact that although officials are trained to move and create angles and open spaces and all of that, we've got the worst seat in the house.
Right. And you're right in the middle of these giants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if we got some help from the cameras, I think that would help the game a lot, and it might slow down some of the idiots who feel that it's their job to hurt other players.
Right.
I think that there's some things that we can do to make the game safer, and I'm confident that we're moving in that direction. We'll take small steps here, and hopefully we can maintain the integrity of the game, because that's the argument on the other side is, listen, we're going to end up playing flag football, and it's not going to be entertaining. So, it's still going to be a collision sport. We just have to make those collisions as safe as possible, and hopefully keep the players playing more than they're on IR.
That's true.
Now, I was at the town hall sessions that Randy Ambrosi did, going to every CFL city. And one thing he talked about was the pace of the game, the speed of the game. And he made a suggestion, I don't know who it came from, but I believe it was possibly Glenn Johnson or someone else in that role, that maybe they could do things like have the referee announce what the penalty was as they're setting the ball, as opposed to set the ball, explain the penalty, and that kind of thing, and that might speed it up. Are there any other kind of things you can think of that might be looked at for speeding up the game?
Well, in some cases, we may not even be announcing penalties.
Oh, interesting.
If it is so absolutely obvious that the defense was offside, why are we even talking about it?
Right.
If you're watching closely the American game, they're not announcing everything that's happening out there. There's really no need to be chasing that part down. I've heard a number of suggestions to reduce game length, but I mean, right now we're coming in on average at 2 hours and 50 minutes. Ever since I got involved in the game, football's been a 3-hour game.
Right. Yeah.
It's really I think the interruptions that disturb people's attention.
Okay.
More than anything else. I suspect that over time you're going to find watching the game at home will be a little bit more cluttered, because television's going to have to be throwing in more commercials.
Got to get the sponsors.
You got to get the sponsorship money, and you've got to have the cash to pay the league.
Yeah.
So hopefully they're able to be creative. I'm watching, golf right now. The golf rules will be golfing along and there's a commercial going on a split screen,
Right.
So who knows what they're going to come up with.
Actually, if they went to a bit of that model, that might actually help to have some people come back to the stadium too.
Maybe.
Like, it might be a bit of both, right? Like
Maybe.
if you get, they run one play or whatever, and they're running a commercial at the same time, but you still can see the play, you just can't hear it being called.
Right.
Does that help on both fronts? It'd be interesting.
Might.
Yeah.
I still. You need something that's exciting. You need a team that you can believe in. You need a team that you can follow, a team that you want to support.
Sure.
To get people to spend their money to come out.
Absolutely.
Come out to the game, and there's things that I think that the fans in the stands would like. Sure, we've got what was state of the art. Jumbotron at one point.
Yeah, at one point.
It ain't state of the art anymore.
No.
It's one of the technology. It's basically by the time it's installed, there's already something new on the horizon.
That's right.
Yeah.
But everybody's used to that super high D at home.
Yeah.
And so it would be nice to be able to see that in the stadium as well, so that you can actually see what you're booing about.
Right.
It's like you've experienced it. I don't. Yeah, it's
the blind
weird.
ref.
Yeah, it's very weird. Now, this is a question I've always wanted to ask a ref. So, does player reputation affect your focus on things? Like, if there's someone who goes offside a lot or holds a lot or something like that, does it as a linesman or a ref, are you like, oh well, I know that person is like that, or
you'll watch them more carefully?
Only in the most extreme cases.
Okay.
And as you asked the question, I could only think of a couple of examples. I would have the conversation with Miles Gurrell towards the end of the first quarter. Miles, are you done yet? Or am I going to continue to flag you for the rest of the night? Because he was terrible. And if I was you just had to watch him because he was going to hold somebody on every play. And then there is another player for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers who was a particular problem on special teams, number 31, and we would, before every game, remind one another that we could not take our eyes off of him because it would be nasty. And
really?
It was typically nasty. Yes, he was a very nasty football player, heavy hitter.
Now this was
sneaky.
Back in the late or in the 90s. I wouldn't assume it was. I can't imagine it was Maurice Leggett. I don't think. He's not that bad.
I was thinking Rick House.
Oh, okay.
Also not him.
Probably not him. No. But
you can keep on guessing, guys. I'm not going to say who it is because he's still involved.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fair. And that's interesting to hear, though, because you don't know if you actually have to have those discussions as what, is this person that type of player, a certain type of personality, as Jed would say.
Yeah, I mean, they're rare. There's not a lot of guys like that, especially now.
Yeah.
The game has changed fundamentally.
Okay.
Where the coaching is changing for the young kids. These young kids are coming up playing a different game of football than what I was taught to play, and it eventually will reach its way all the way to the pros. We made a presentation to the Lions on standards last year, and the league flew me out to Vancouver, and we met with the coaches, and the coaches, of course, are all disturbed about what we're calling on special teams cover play, and what's illegal blocking and blah blah blah. And Jeff Reinbold is going through contortions because he can't figure out how he's gonna be able to coach and blah blah blah. And Wally stands up and lectures his coaches about how the game is fundamentally changing and that they had to get with the program.
A good old Wally.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And it was I sat there in amazement listening. Here is, of course, the great uncle of football coaches here in the country lecturing professional football coaches about the State of the Union. It was quite amazing.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, because Andrew talks about people with reputations, and a lot of players as fans have a reputation. Chris Edwards, how many objectionable conducts or
wasn't it like 14 games in a row or something?
It was crazy. And it's one of those things that we forget for a lot of referees. You've talked before about how it's almost instinctive. You see something, you throw the flag, and then you figure out what you saw at that point. So I don't know if it's less about that or more just because whatever it is, they're triggering your sense to throw that flag.
Well, and some of them just deserve it.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be fair, it's not like this was like, oh, you're targeting him because of his reputation. He was doing the things that were getting the flags. But.
Yeah, you can see it happen.
Yeah.
No, I mean there are some guys that just play an awful lot tighter. Some guys,
straddle that line or go over.
They're just not going to let people go, and there's one of the reasons that I didn't go very far in competitive sport was because you touch my hot buttons and you're not going to like what's coming out the other side. Right. So, and there's lots of players like that where all of a sudden it's not a yes or no, sir. It's objectionable conduct.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to swing my helmet and clock a referee as it turns out, or a lineman.
Let's not do that. Yeah. Now, was there highlights from last year from a reffing perspective that you were very proud of with the league?
Proud. I thought we had a very good year officiating-wise. There were no real blow-ups. I mean, short of Claros getting, put into outer space in a game or two, but there weren't really any nasty things that happened that all fingers pointed at officiating. It's not like what happened with the NFL putting in the roughing the passer stuff and
that was a little over the top.
Well, that was
Tom Brady.
It certainly brought all of the attention on to rules and officiating and all of that. So we had none of that. So I'm really pleased at that. I would say that 2018 was a very functional year for us. We worked a bunch of younger guys in. We had a couple of young guys that surprised us in a very positive way with their performance. And I see some promise. Young guys coming up. We're not certain yet, but it is possible that the NFL will sign the first Canadian to officiate.
Awesome. Wow.
Which is a good news, bad news story for us.
Sure.
Because we'd obviously lose somebody, but that would be kudos to our department. I would say that if we could continue to do for the next 5 years what we did in 2018, that's where I'd like to be at, because the focus is on the game and on the players and on the performances, not on the officiating screw ups and what we managed to do wrong, etc.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
Always going to complain about the refs. Let's be honest.
And that's fine. I mean, you pay your money, and that's fine. Don't get physical about it. Right. But you pay your money and you get to voice your opinion.
Whatever sport. I mean, whether it's baseball yelling at the umpire, whether it's hockey or linesmen. Fans are going to always yell at the referee because that's what they do, right?
So that's what we've been taught to do.
One thing I noticed in the NFL, they've talked a lot in the last couple of years about for the first time having a woman who's a referee. Do you see that happening in the junior ranks at this point, that maybe one day we're going to see that in the CFL?
So last year we did a survey of all women participating in football in Canada, telling them that if they wanted to pursue it, there would be an opportunity for them to work in the Canadian Football League.
Fantastic.
We had exactly zero interest.
Really? Interesting.
Every single person that participated said they wanted to play.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I found that quite surprising.
No kidding.
We've got two or three members of the Edmonton Football Officials Association, 2 or 3 female members. There are others. There's a woman down in Calgary who, if I'm not mistaken, was working junior. I don't think she's done CIS yet. There are a few that are coming, but it wouldn't surprise me if we found an American first, because there's clearly no doubt that diversity is,
the strength.
It is, and so we've got to get women on the field, and we've got to get men of color on the field.
Right.
So we're looking hard at finding good candidates. One of the things that I do at practice is to talk to players about the concept of officiating when their career is over. Hopefully I can convince 1 or 2 of them to do it, and we can fast track them in and get them working as well.
Outstanding.
Right.
So what is the timeline now as they get towards doing rules committee and all those types of things? Where do those all lie out now that we're sitting February and only, I guess, a few months away from everything getting rolling?
Rules committee's on March the 12th. So there'll be some announcements lead up to that. There was a meeting of the team reps, the presidents, and the general managers in Quebec in January. And as a part of that meeting, we presented a whole bunch of rule concepts, things that, frankly, we'd been too busy to present before. So there was a lot of stuff that one might consider to be a little bit off the wall. Carding, for example. Yellow card a guy, he gets the same thing the second time, and then he's gone.
Wow.
That kind of stuff. And, fine, different ideas. You gotta throw this stuff out and see whether or not there's any traction. So we got rid of a bunch of stuff that had been sitting in the cupboard for a few years, and but it's good to be able to share ideas and to get some thoughts of what might get support at the table at Rules Committee, and we'll see what comes out of the March meeting. As I said earlier, referees are getting together in April. That will be the point where their crews are revealed to them, so that they can start connecting with their crewmates and getting them focused for the year. By then, we'll have a very good idea of what rule changes will be made. We're working on standards right now. Some of the standards are going to be adjusted slightly. I've been advocating. I don't know how loud my voice is or whether anybody is going to support it or not, but I'd like to see us adjust our standard on illegal contact a little bit. Put it in context. We introduced the rule change because we were in a bit of a crisis. Defenses had taken catch and release to the extreme.
Right.
And so receivers were just they just couldn't run routes anymore, and it was affecting completion scores, etc.
Offense in general.
So the pendulum swung, and it swung a long ways. And I just finished a project where I reviewed all illegal contact fouls that were made, whether they were graded correct or not, along with situations where the teams sent in plays where they felt there was illegal contact that should have been called, as well as situations where the evaluators graded a play as illegal contact, and found 45 of those plays where I question whether we should have a flag. Because right now, the way that we train our officials, you see the contact, you check, quarterback's got the ball, it's a penalty, throw your flag. And I'd like to slow that process down just a little bit so that there is some degree of judgment on the part of the official. If the quarterback's loaded up and that ball's going off to the other side of the field and there's been a contact on your side,
not really affecting the play.
Did it really impact the play?
That's right.
Did it really impact the play? Now, I understand why the rule was brought in the way it was, that it was to make it black and white, to make it easier for the officials to call. But as I say to my boss, give the guys some credit. Mm-hmm. They've worked their way up. You like their judgment and their ability to think quickly and to decide whether or not something really deserves a foul or not. We're presently just under 15 flags a game. Mm-hmm. Frankly, I'd like to see that down by a couple more. Okay. So we could certainly help in that area by letting some of the stuff that was called ICR last year go.
Okay.
And just let the
Eskimos would have appreciated that at the beginning of last year.
Well, they seem to be challenged. They were challenged throughout, and but that's another story.
It is. Yeah.
I think things will be different in 2019 in that regard.
I like to hear that. That's good.
I think that, like the sport itself, officiating is an ever-growing kind of thing. Like it changes along with the rules.
It's interesting. I just finished reading a book about AI, and officiating's at the top of the list. It will be one of the professions that disappears.
Really?
Yes,
really?
Yes, to be replaced by robots.
But how does that happen?
Well, the Alliance League has got balls with chips in
sensors,
it.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
You can get sensors all around the place.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that way if it's broken the plane, because a lot of times you're looking on our high def TVs and you can't really tell 100% they've broken the plane at the goal line.
Right.
So the sensor will be able to help that out, but to have no human interpretation of a human sport just seems weird to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it will be interesting to see.
I mean, I can see them working hand in hand.
Soccer first, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for that. We appreciate it on a lot of levels. That's good. Yeah. Some robot walks out, throws up a card.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Faking it.
What is this? Yeah, what is this? Football? What's
now that's a rule
exciting.
change I would like to see, and I put that in from last year. Diving.
Yes.
Oh,
is
BC
disgusting.
would have been very unhappy last year.
Oh, my
I think working that with the eye in the sky would be great.
Yeah.
Being able to see from that angle. No one even touched him.
Yeah. Well, he went to the NFL.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Diving tie. Yeah, exactly.
The Greg Louganis.
That's right, yes. Well, this was amazing.
Always,
I love chatting with you about all these rule changes. Did we get to everything that you want to talk about, or is there anything else you want to tell us?
Well, to be honest, I didn't have a lot to talk to you about.
Well, we found lots. This is awesome.
Are you doing Football 101 in this year?
I expect so. They haven't contacted me yet. Amy Oates, who coordinated it the last couple of years, is no longer with the club.
Right.
So we'll see who replaces her. But before her, Football 101 was going. So I expect it will be on.
Absolutely fantastic.
I would like to speak with the powers that be there to improve it slightly. I think that I think little bit more focus could be put on it. I understand that it puts a lot of pressure on the organization. And are you actually what are you achieving? Are you putting new bums in the seats? Are you bringing new people into the game? I don't know, but whatever they do, I want to be a part of it, because the more people that we can interest in the game of football, the happier I am. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take Mama Jedi.
Yeah, awesome. I loved it. We've been to 101, 201, 301, and there was a TV show, a reality show following Glenn Johnson and his crew around, and I thought that was another great thing to be able to have people see that. Maybe work with that new technology, have some sort of streaming thing where people can watch. Whether it's subscription, whether it's free, whatever, just being able to see that and understand, like you've been talking about today and like you've talked about in 101, 201, just what it is from the officiating side of things, how that relates to everything.
Yeah. Well, Edmonton Eskimos, if you're listening.
Yeah. Take advantage of
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Of course they listen.
They're taking notes.
Every time. Let's go with that. Well, thank you again then, Bud, for coming in. This was outstanding. It was awesome to have you here. I assume we're going to see you on the sidelines at practice again this year, I hope.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Plans are. I've been texting with Jason, and
fantastic.
We're getting together with the coaches. They're coming into town, he said, between the 25th of February and early March. So we'll get together with them at that point and do a little bit of film work and
enunciate with AJ. Yeah. Those ears may still be
ringing. Yeah.
If you could just do me a favor and let them know how safe a space this is, that'd be great. I'd appreciate that. That's good. Let's quickly go around the room. Where does everybody find everyone online and things? Miss Kayla?
At Duchess Lombardi.
Perfect. Superfan Mike.
At 56 Parkies.
And I'm at Free Policious. I want to say thank you again to our sponsor, United Construction Company. Check out their website, of course, at unitedconstruction.ca. Are you down with UCC?
Yeah, you know me.
Perfect. Make sure you will find us on all of our social channels as well. You can find all the links on eskempire.ca as well as all the old shows. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with a brand new guest and hopefully maybe a little less news to talk about, but we'll still have lots to talk about. Yeah, exactly. So I guess the only question right now is, are we ready to see all these new guys hit the field?
Absolutely.
So for Bud, Kayla, and Superfan Mike, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you in a couple weeks.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.